Hello children, welcome back to my channel CBSE Geography Made Simple. Today, let's study the third chapter of Geography of class 9th of CBSE curriculum, Drainage. I have tried to explain the chapter with the help of maps, pictures and examples. Check out the description box below to find the complete notes of the chapter. Also, those of you who are visiting for the first time, please do not forget to check out my previous videos. Also, this is a new channel. If you like my videos and want me to continue making more such videos, please do support my channel. So let's begin. Drainage. Children, we will begin the chapter Drainage with a brief synopsis of the chapter. So, by the end of the chapter, we will have studied the important rivers and the tributaries in India. Under this head, we will be studying about the course or flow of the rivers right from the origin till the drain, and this whole area from the origin till the drain is known as drainage basin. For the purpose of our study, the rivers of India or the river systems of India, we will divide them in two broad categories. One will be the Himalayan rivers which drain the North Indian plains, and then another one will be the peninsular rivers. The second aspect of the chapter will be the lakes. There are various types of lakes in India, so we will be studying what are the various types of lakes and the examples. Then the importance of the rivers and lakes in our everyday life, in generally the ecology and the economy of the country. Last but not the least is pollution. The impact of pollution on the river and the lakes and various measures that can be taken to combat the ill effects of pollution. Children, we will be starting the chapter with an understanding of drainage, drainage basin and water divide. I am teaching you with the notes that I have prepared for you all. You have an access to the notes through the link in the description box. What does drainage means? Drainage is the river system of an area. This is several small streams flowing from different directions and coming together to form the main river, and this main river will ultimately drain into a large water body such as a lake or a ocean or sea. With a pictorial description. So, these are various small streams coming from different directions, joining together, flowing together as a main stream, and finally draining into the larger body as an ocean. So this whole thing, the whole system of smaller streams, tributaries and the main stream is known as the drainage, and the whole area where they flow is known as the drainage basin. Now, what is a water divide? Water divide is a mountain or an upland. Here, the mountain or an upland which separates two drainage basin. Here, this is the water divide. This is drainage basin 1 and this is drainage basin 2. And the highland or the water divide or an upland which is separating these two drainage basin is known as water divide. The river system in India is divided into two main groups, the Himalayan rivers and the peninsular rivers. Let's look into the major points of difference between these two major river systems. The Himalayan rivers, they originate from the rugged terrain of Himalayas and they drain the entire North Indian plains. Whereas the peninsular rivers, they have their origin in the central highland or the western Ghats and they drain the peninsular part of the India. As the rivers, they originate from the rugged terrain of Himalayas, also, this is the reason they perform heavy erosional activity. As they descend down and join the plains, the speed or the velocity of the river decreases, the load carrying capacity also decreases, therefore the sand, silt, clay, etc., boulders which the rivers have carried all along, they start depositing along the course before they drain into the Bay of Bengal. Therefore, the depositional activity is also much higher in the Himalayan rivers than in the peninsular river system. Also, the Himalayan rivers are fed by the melting of the snow and the glaciers. Therefore, the rivers are perennial, whereas the peninsular rivers, they mostly depend on the rainfall, which is seasonal and monsoon in India. Therefore, the smaller rivers here may not have a perennial or perpetual supply of water, and sometimes they may even dry up. The Himalayan rivers, they have a longer course and a deeper course than the peninsular rivers, which are more shallow and shorter course. Children, now let's take up the two river systems of the country one by one. We will first study the Himalayan river system. The three most important Himalayan rivers are the Indus River on the extreme west, the Ganga on the center, at the center, and the Brahmaputra at the extreme east. These three rivers are quite big rivers and they drain the entire North Indian plains. We'll first study the Indus River system. River Indus is one of the longest rivers of the world, which originates at a point near Mansarovar, flowing westward. The river enters India at a point near Ladakh in Kashmir. Then some small tributaries like Zaskar, Hunza, Shyok, etc. they will join Indus in Kashmir area. Further flowing northwestwards, Indus will now enter Pakistan. And the five most important tributaries of Indus, which are Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas and Satluj, they will now join Indus River in Pakistan at a place known as Mithankot. Out of all these five tributaries, only Beas River drains some parts of India. After they join Indus at Mithankot, the river starts flowing southwards, and at a point near Karachi, the river will drain into Arabian Sea. This is a very large river basin covering an area of approximately 2,900 km with a very gentle slope. However, since the major part of Indus River is in Pakistan, therefore 2/3 of the river basin lies in Pakistan and only 1/3 of the river basin is in India, spread in states of J&K, Himachal and Punjab. Second important Himalayan river system is the Ganga river system. Ganga originates at a glacier at Gangotri, and here it is called Bhagirathi. Ganga originates in the Himalayan ranges and will enter join the North Indian plains at a point at Haridwar. Haridwar is at the foothills. Important tributaries of Ganga are Yamuna, which also originates at a glacier known as Yamunotri. Yamuna flows parallel to Ganga and joins Ganga at the Sangam at Allahabad. Then other rivers which originate in Himalaya and join Ganga are the Nepal rivers of Ghagra, Gandak and Kosi. These rivers, they have their origin in Nepal. They carry huge amount of silt, alluvial, etc. and they cause flood during the rainy season across the North Indian plains and heavy damage also. However, a silver lining is that they spread fresh alluvium also across the North Indian plains. Then there are tributaries which join from the peninsular region. These are Chambal, Betwa and Son. These have shallower course and they are smaller rivers and may sometimes they have lesser sand and silt and depositional activity and smaller river streams. The Ganga river flows eastwards till Farakka in West Bengal, where it will enter the Bay of Bengal. Before that, the Ganga bifurcates into two distributaries. One is known as the Bhagirathi Hooghly. This is the Bhagirathi Hooghly, which flows southwards and then it will enter the Bay of Bengal. The mainstream Ganga, then it will leave India and enter Bangladesh and will be joined by the river Brahmaputra in Bangladesh before it takes a southward turn and will again enter the Bay of Bengal. So the distributaries of this Hooghly and the Brahmaputra and Ganga joining together at Bangladesh, they drain into Bay of Bengal, forming the largest delta of the world known as Sundarban Delta. The length of Ganga is 2,500 kilometer with a very gentle slope of 300 meters. Ganga plain, the total length of Ganga plain from Ambala to the Sundarbans is 1800 kilometer. Ambala lies at the water divide. Here is Ambala. It lies at a water divide between the Indus river system and the Ganga river system. We have done the western part of the Himalayan river basin drained by river Indus, the central part of the Himalayan river basin drained by river Ganga. Now we will be taking up the easternmost part of the river basin, Himalayan river basin drained by river Brahmaputra. River Brahmaputra has its origin at the east of Mansarovar, flowing eastwards. The river enters India at a point known as Namcha Barwa in Arunachal Pradesh. From here, it will take a sharp U-turn and draining Arunachal Pradesh and Assam, it will now flow downwards, join Ganga here as we have already studied in the Ganga basin before it enters the Bay of Bengal and drains itself into the Bay of Bengal, forming the Sundarban Delta. Most of the course of river Brahmaputra lies outside India where it is known as Zangpo. This area is a dry and cold region, therefore the water content or the volume of Zangpo or Brahmaputra while it is outside India is very less. However, once it enters India at the point called Namcha Barwa in Arunachal Pradesh, where it is also joined by tributaries of Lohit, Dihang, etc., the volume of water suddenly increases because this area is known to have very heavy rainfall during monsoons. As such, the water volume and the silt, etc., also accumulates and also increases manifold. This causes heavy flood during the rainy seasons in this area on the banks of Brahmaputra in areas of Assam and Bangladesh. Then in Namcha Barwa, when the Brahmaputra or Zangpo enters India and starts being called Brahmaputra, it flows through a gorge. Arunachal Pradesh is a hilly region. Gorge is actually a steep valley between two hills and have very steep rocky sides through which a stream flows. So here the river will flow through a gorge before being joined by Lohit, Dihang, etc. After the Himalayan rivers, in the subsequent slides, we will now be taking up the peninsular rivers. We know that the peninsular rivers have a shallower course and has lesser volume of water compared to the Himalayan rivers. The important peninsular rivers are Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. These rivers drain the eastern parts of the Indian peninsula and drain into Bay of Bengal, forming delta at their mouth. The only two rivers which drain the western part of the peninsular India are Narmada and Tapi. They flow westward and join or drain into Arabian Sea, forming estuary. Estuary is actually the tidal mouth of a river where, because of the high tides, the depositional activity does not take place and as such delta is not formed. So there is no delta found at the mouth of Narmada and Tapi as they drain into the Arabian Sea. We will now be studying about the rivers which drain the eastern part of the peninsular river, namely the Mahanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna and the Kaveri rivers. We will first start with the Mahanadi river. Mahanadi river rises in the highlands of Chhattisgarh, flows eastward through the states of Chhattisgarh and Orissa and drains into the Bay of Bengal. The length of the river is 860 km. It is a relatively smaller river. Then comes Godavari. This is the largest peninsular river and the second largest river in India. And it is also because of the large river basin the Godavari river has, it is also known as Dakshin Ganga. The important tributaries of Godavari are Purna, Vardha, Penganga, Venganga, etc. The Godavari river rises in Nasik in Maharashtra, flows eastward through the states of Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, some parts of Orissa also it drains before it drains itself or enters the Bay of Bengal. Krishna river rises from a spring near Mahabaleshwar in Maharashtra, flows for approximately 1400 km through the states of Maharashtra, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, and it finally drains into the Bay of Bengal. Tungabhadra and Koyna are the most important tributaries of this river. Then the Kaveri river basin, which is the southernmost important basin of the peninsular India. Kaveri river rises at Brahmagiri range in the western Ghats, flows for approximately 760 kilometers before it drains into the Bay of Bengal. The states where the Kaveri river flows are the three southernmost states of India, the Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. The important tributaries of Kaveri river are Amravati, Bhavani, Hemvati, etc. In this slide, we will be studying about the rivers flowing westward and draining into the Arabian Sea, namely the Narmada river, the Tapi river among the major ones, and some smaller coastal rivers which drain into the Arabian Sea. So we'll start with the Narmada river. Narmada river rises in the Amarkantak hills in Madhya Pradesh and flows westward through the states of Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat in a rift valley and drains itself into the Arabian Sea. As it passes through a rift valley and gorge, it also makes some very beautiful and picturesque locations like Marble Rocks near Jabalpur and Dhuadhar Falls, where the river plunges through the steep rocks. Just lying parallel to Narmada river is the Tapi basin. Tapi river rises in the Satpura ranges of Madhya Pradesh, flows westward in a rift valley parallel to river Narmada and through the states of Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Gujarat as it enters the Arabian Sea. Children, the western coastal plain is a very narrow stretch of plain, as you can see. Therefore, the rivers flowing in the coastal plain area are also very small. So, some of these rivers are Sabarmati and Mahi, which flow through Rajasthan and Gujarat, this area, and Periyar and Bharatpuzha rivers, which flow through the states of coastal plains in Kerala state. Children, till now we have studied the Himalayan river basins and the peninsular river basins of India. Now in this section, we will be studying about various types of lakes which are found in India, how they have been formed and some examples. Children, this is a picture of an oxbow lake. We all know that rivers have reduced velocity as they enter the plain. So the river now starts to twist and turn as they flow, making meanders. The load carrying capacity of river is also greatly reduced, and thus the sediments carried along by the river all through starts to get deposited along the sides of these meanders. Eventually, the meander becomes very curved and cuts off from the main course of the river in a crescent shape, and thus Oxbow Lake is formed. Lagoons are formed when a shallow water body is separated from the larger body of water by natural depositional barriers such as sandbars, reefs, etc. Some examples of lagoons in India are Chilika Lake of Odisha, Pulicat Lake in Tamil Nadu, Koleru Lake in Andhra Pradesh, etc. Sambar Lake of Rajasthan in India is in region of inland drainage, and it is an example of inland drainage lake which receives water from 5 rivers of Rajasthan. This is India's largest inland salt lake. Due to very high evaporation rate in this region, the salty water of the lake is used to produce salt. Lakes found in the Himalayan regions in India are the freshwater lakes which are fed by the glacial water. For example, Dal Lake, Bhimtal, Nainital, Loktak, etc. On the other hand, Volar Lake is a result of tectonic activity, and this was formed during the process of formation of Himalayas. Another important type of lake are known as reservoirs, which are artificial lakes, and they are formed by damming of the rivers as a part of the multi-purpose projects. They are artificial lake where the water is stored. For example, Guru Gobind Sagar on Bhakra Nangal Dam, Maharana Pratap Sagar in Himachal Pradesh, etc. Let us now do the role of rivers and lakes in the economy and also about the river pollution, various aspects and how we can prevent and control their pollution. Children, I am teaching you with the notes that I have prepared for you. You have an access to the notes through the link in the description box below. The importance of lakes and rivers. They help to regulate the flow of river. They prevent flooding during the rainy season. Also maintain even flow of water otherwise. They help to develop hydel power. We have seen how multi-purpose projects, dams are built and lakes, reservoirs are also formed, constructed. Then they also help to moderate the climate of the surrounding area. Aquatic ecosystem can be maintained, then enhance natural beauty and help to develop natural beauty and recreation, and many tourist spots are found along the lakes. Similarly, rivers, they are also used for irrigation, navigation, hydropower generation, etc. Water from river is essential for human activity, and that is why human settlement is found along the river bank. This explains the very dense population along the northern plains of India and also along the coastal plains of India. About the pollution aspect, excessive use and wastage of river water results in reduced volume. This is about the quantity of water getting reduced. Also, the quality is also severely damaged because heavy load of untreated sewage and industrial effluents are emptied in river, which affects the quality of river water and also its self-cleansing capacity. It also hampers the flora and fauna. Due to increasing urbanization and industrialization also, the pollution level of the river is rising alarmingly. Therefore, the conservation and prevention of the wastage is very important. For this, various measures can be taken like wastewater management, reuse, recycle, etc. With this, we conclude this chapter. Hope you enjoyed learning. If you like the video, please do like and subscribe to my channel and also share with your friends. Feel free to share your comments and feedback in the comment section below. And yes, do not forget to access the notes of the chapter from the description box below. I shall be back again very soon with the next chapter of class 9. Thanks for watching. Happy learning.